Hello everybody, welcome back to the Lost Mine. Today, it is me, Landen, with yet again another post-rotation deck profile. Today we're doing Great Tusk Mill. Has a very efficient milling attack, it is a very bulky Pokemon, and it looks to be one of the stronger mill decks we had seen in a while. Like the last really meta-relevant deck we had that was strictly milling was like the Chinchino, Belelba, Macargo GX mill. That could mill way more cards than this can, but I think this is still going to be a strong contender. We have been testing it into the Charizard matchup, and it's been doing quite well. It's actually felt kind of favored into that matchup with the tanky tools that we have. But why don't we get right on into it with the 4 copies of Great Tusk. It does have a 140 hit point fighting Pokemon. It is an ancient tag on here as well, so it is synergized with other ancient cards. And its attack Ground Collapse. For 2 colorless energy, you discard the top card of your opponent's deck, and then if you've played an Ancient Supporter, you discard 3 more. So 2 energy for 4 cards in the bin is very strong. It's going to be very disruptive. You're going to mill your opponent's deck quite fast, and then this is kind of different than any mill card we've seen in the past, because it has 140 hit points and a tool that gives it plus 60, plus 100, or plus 50. So this can be tanking shots and milling again, which is when you start approaching really dangerous territory for your opponent, because they're not just taking a free knockout every turn on something like a Durant that has literally 70 hit points, which is actually half of this. So we haven't seen a tanky Pokemon that can mill this many cards before, and I think it's going to be really strong and efficient. Also has a very good second attack, Giant Fangs, 160, 2 fighting and 2 colors. You play double turbos, you play Sodas, so you can't power this up in one turn, but since you're sodding and powering up multiple Great Tusks at a time, you can kind of mid-game start chaining these Giant Fangs if you really want to start attacking. And then since we're tanky with the 200 hit points with the capsule, you're two-shotting things and they might be two-shotting you back. So that is a pretty valid option to have, to just kind of flip the switch and start actually attacking. And if they're playing mill attacks like the Builder out from Pokemon Go, you can just go counter your Giant Fangs, take it out of play. The second attack is nothing to sleep on, and then we have Psychic Weakness and Through Retreat. I'm not going to be retreating this guy because it's just going to keep Ground Collapsing, so that doesn't make a huge difference. For draw support, we're playing 1 copy of Radiant Greninja with the concealed cards. This is really important in this deck. Not only is it going to be your only draw engine, but it is going to also enable your Sada's Vitality, which is a huge part of this deck. And you do need the card draw. Greninja really pulls a lot of weight here because you don't have any other option. Only other Pokemon, only playing 6 basics. Opponent will be mulliganing a lot, which is kind of helpful because you're milling them. You just got Vanishing Wings. We've seen this card lots in other decks. This is really important here because we're going to get to the bottom of our deck pretty quickly, and then we're going to have no cards in deck a lot of the time, so you're just going to put this in, draw for turn. You can just keep doing that so you don't deck out and you can keep milling your opponent. And then this is going to be a Forest Steel target, and we're playing Town Stores, so Forest Steel Stone is going to feel really, really strong in this deck. For supporters, we're only allowed to play Ancient ones because of our first attack there, so we're playing 4 Sodas. This is going to supplement our double turbos and allowing us to attack with multiple Great Tusks. And it's also going to draw some cards. It's going to synergize with concealed cards very well, and it's going to be one of the 2 strongest. It's the only 2 drawing ancient supporters we can play. Second one is Explorer's Guidance. This one's going to see a lot of cards. You look at the top 6 and put 2 of them in your hand, discard the others. So this is pretty painful, more painful than Colress of the recent past, but it's going to be thinning your deck really well. Like, you're going to be digging towards the strong ones, discarding the really weak ones that you don't need anymore, and your deck's going to really Iono-proof itself, and it's going to just make your deck incredibly small so you can hit what you need in the later game. And yeah, so this in conjunction with like Pal Pads and Pokegears, it's really going to help you just dig to your next Ancient Supporter, which you have to play every turn. It does feel pretty painful. You're going to have some bad guidances, but it's your best option. Maybe if we get a better, less painful draw option in the next set for an Ancient Supporter, we can do that. But for now, we're stuck with these 2. Instead of playing other supporters, we're just going to have to play Pokegears because we can't play other supporters. Look at the top 7, get a supporter. This is going to help us chain in addition with Palpad, and then milling the non-supporters out of your deck with Explorer's Guidance. This is really going to hit most of the time once you get past turn 1 or 2. And then for other consistency, we have the 4 copies of Nest Ball. This is going to be the best option. We have 0 coming into play effects, so this is just the de facto best card to be playing here. Supplemented by 2 Ultra Ball and a Hisuian Heavy Ball. The Hisuian Heavy is going to whiff pretty often because we only have 6 basics, but in the event you do prize a basic, both of your non-Great Tusks are really important. You need them, and you really need to chain Great Tusks, and prizing one of them without a Heavy Ball is going to be really difficult. The games where you prize 2 of them and you can only get back 1 with Heavy Ball, you feel the difference because you have to chain Super Rod instead of just having to play 1 a game. Next up, for Energy Search, we're playing 3 Earthen Vessel. This is going to be really helping with building a hand. You'll struggle with that with this deck, really, because you're only drawing 3 and 2 off of your supporters. So your hand size is usually going to be pretty low, like maybe tops 8-ish, if that's a big hand for you. But it's going to synergize with concealed cards really well, thin bad cards out of the deck you don't need anymore, and you're going to be able to conceal cards twice in a row here, which is really important, so you have the follow-ups to keep dating your supporters. Better than just playing more energies. Next, we are playing 3 copies of Counter Catcher. This is really just going to be trying to slow your opponent down, trying to get like an extra turn here or there. Usually the difference between winning or losing a game is a turn or 2 turns tops with this deck, because you can mill so many cards. So if you're able to buy a turn, stall something up like a Bibarel or whatever that has high retreat cost and it's going to be stuck there possibly, this can be really helpful, especially when you could be milling switch cards off of, what's the attack? Ground Collapse. So you could be milling the resources they need to retreat their Pokemon with, and then you can kind of see that looking at their discard pile, and then Counter Catcher appropriately there. I would maybe like to see one of these cut for another card we'll see later in the list. Maybe even cut these entirely, because there might just be better options for Disruption/Mill, because you don't really need to interact with them. You're kind of just playing solitaire with this deck. You're just milling as many cards as you can and hoping it works. Next, we've got 3 copies of Palpad. This is essential because we need to be chaining our Ancient supporters, and we're not able to do that if you run out of them. So putting the Palpad back, 2 of them being on a Pokegear, it's going to really increase your ratios off of those. And then Explorer's Guidance after a Palpad back 2 supporters is usually going to hit one for the next turn because you're digging so deep. With a Pokegear and a Guidance, you're digging 13 cards for a supporter, so you're going to have one for the next turn most of the time. Next up, we are playing 2 copies of Super Rod. You do need Super Rod to chain more than 4 Great Tusks. It is kind of awkward with the Explorer's Guidance. You might want to consider playing a 3rd copy. You could maybe cut a basic energy for it or something like maybe the Counter Catcher 2. But I felt fine with 2 so far because you only really need to play 1 a game to get back 2 Tusks, so you can have 6 of them for them to go through. But it's really nice for getting back energies late game so you can keep using concealed cards, and then you also frequently will discard your Pidgeot off of Guidance and get it back with Super Rod late game because you don't really need it. It's actually fine in your deck because it just puts itself back in. Last non-tool item we're playing is a copy of Hand Trimmer. This card has a lot of synergy. New card as well. Each player discards cards from their hand until they have 5 in their hand. So this is like very strong, especially against the traditional strategy of playing against Mill, where you build up a huge hand, shuffle draw it all to the bottom, keep attacking that way. But you just punish that. So I'd probably like to see this change going forward. It's kind of going to be dependent on the matchup, which one is better. But I think the Hand Trimmer has a lot of upside, and only playing 1, you're not going to hit it very often. But this can also have a lot of synergy with only playing 6 basics, because they could draw a whole bunch of mulligans and not really thinking about it, and then you just go Hand Trimmer. They have to discard like 5 cards on turn 1 before they even draw, which can be really punishing. And if they're trying to do that shuffle draw with Iono back into their deck, then this is essentially like an actual mill card. Like if there was an item that said like mill 2, 3, 4 cards from your opponent's deck, that would see play. And this is kind of what it feels like that sometimes. So Hand Trimmer is very strong. For tools, we're playing 4 Ancient Booster Capsule Energy, or Booster Energy Capsule. Plus 60 HP, no special conditions, recovers from all conditions, mostly just here for the HP buff. 200 HP basic, 1 Prizer is huge. That is a lot of hit points to be going through. 1 Bravery Charm, plus 50, it's a little bit worse, but you can't play 5 booster capsules, unfortunately. And then our new A spec here, Hero's Cape. This Pokemon gets plus 100 HP, so 240 hit point, 1 Prizer, that's huge. It's going to be really hard for things to one-shot that. Like, Calamitous Storm only does 220 with a Stadium discard. You're going to live Trinity Nova without the double turbo. You're going to live things like Miraidon EX's attack. This is just going to be really bulky for a 1 Prizer. And Hero's Cape is just a huge, huge HP buff. I would also like maybe to see another HP tool buff card here, maybe another Bravery Charm. Just because like into things like Charizard, Burning Darkness does 180, so they cannot one-shot the Great Tusks with tools on them. So you need to have a tool on each one, otherwise they'll just boss the Great Tusk on the bench that doesn't have a tool. So it might be worth playing an extra, actually playing 7 of these tools, which is a lot, but making all of your Great Tusks huge. And also you're able to like Bravery Charm your Pidgeot or your Reading Ranger or Hero's Cape, one of these as well. Next, we're playing Emergency Board, yet another new card. It's going to give the Pokemon it's attached to -1 retreat, and if it has 30 HP or less, it's going to have no retreat. But this is mostly just a town store searchable switch card, so if you start Pidgeot or Ninja, you can attach it, and you can retreat it, and it's town store searchable. So it's kind of a lot more searchable than just like an actual switch, and it's going to stick and play and make a nice pivot. And then the last card is the Forest Seal Stone. This is going to be a very big consistency card in conjunction with our town stores on the Pidgeot, and then we can shuffle back in a deck so we don't have a 2-prize liability in play. 2 copies of Town Store, and 2 copies of Artisan. Both really good consistency options. You could play a 3-in-1 split of either. I wouldn't blame you too much. But stadiums stick a lot more now, so these are going to get a lot more value because there's no path. So people are only going to be playing like 1 or 2 stadium bumps. Maybe less than that even, so maybe more, but the average number of stadium bumps is going to go way down post-rotation because there's less incentive to play on these bumps. So being on the Town Store, like every turn you put a new Great Tusk down, you go search for the tool right away, put it on there, or you just always have access to your Forest Seal Stone. And then Artisan is really nice, especially when you're super rodding late game, so you can go rod immediately back into play with the Artisan and get a Great Tusk. Can be a lot of easy chaining that way. And then for energies, we're playing 4 copies of Double Turbo. This is going to have obvious synergy with Ground Collapse, can help charge up the second attack. Giant Fangs a little easier as well, but it means we don't have to Sada every turn. We can Explorer's Guidance and still attack turn 1. And you're digging pretty deep for the Double Turbo as well, like 6 plus, you're going to be usually drawing 2 off of Radiant Ninja, Mill 2, like you're thinning, draw 2, C8, C7, like you're seeing quite a bit of cards turn 1, plus you have the Forest Seal and 2 Town Stores, so you actually attack pretty often turn 1. And then lastly, we do have 7 fighting energies. I saw like a couple lists even playing as little as 4, even still trying to play Radiant Ninja. I don't know how you expect to be using concealed cards like more than once or twice with 4 energy in your deck. So I've really been liking the 7. It is possible that the 7th should be a 3rd Super Rod. That could be some good min-maxing if you're looking for a way to improve the list a little bit. But so far I've been happy with the 7. Helps you kind of always have the energy and discard for Sada as well, because if they start sticking in play, then you just can't play your supporters. So that could be a valid strategy for your opponent as well. If you're playing only 4 energies, they could just not attack on purpose, and then you only be milling 1, because you physically would not be allowed to play this, because there's no energies in discard. So really been liking this list. It's been feeling a lot more powerful than I initially gave it credit for. I was kind of just memeing on Great Tusk. I thought it was kind of a joke deck, but it's surprisingly strong. If all your Great Tusk, or even a couple of them, live for 2 turns and can mill 8 cards each, that is so much mill. If they play like a research, then you're usually able to like just bin them off of that. Or even like against Zara, they don't play any research usually. Well, they play 1, but they don't usually play it against you. But you can mill so many cards that it just does work. You do get them to the bottom of the deck. It's not like Durant where you like have to hope that the counter catcher sticks. You can actually just race them. So yeah, that's been the Great Tusk Mill deck. Been really impressed by this. I hope you all enjoy. Please do look out for that gameplay video. If you like the video, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, talk about maybe you've been testing with Great Tusk, what's your experiences been. Really like to hear that kind of stuff from you guys. Really like to respond to all the comments I do, and me and Lucas do read all of them, respond to all of them, so we really appreciate the support you guys have been giving us. And I know we've been a little slower this last couple weeks, just been working a lot, Lucas and me, kind of transitioning to editing the videos ourselves now, so it's been a bit of a grind, but we're going to be putting out a lot more content this week, next week. So yeah, hope you guys really enjoyed the Great Tusk profile. This has been Landen with the Lost Mine. Take care.